Hey guys, so I have opted to stop chapter 11 and move on to chapter 12 just because I want to cover a little bit of this with you before the end of the school year, and we only have a few weeks left. So we're going to start chapter 12 today, and it's all about data. It's going to be completely different than the other stuff that we've been covering, and I think overall you guys are going to really like it, and hopefully it's a little bit easier for you guys to learn remotely, which is also my goal. So today we're going to talk about matrices, and this is section 12.1, and we're probably only going to cover until like 12.3 or so. But a matrix is a rectangular arrangement of numbers in rows and columns, and it's used to organize data. And basically they look like those big straight brackets that we talked about previously in the school year, and it just has a bunch of numbers inside of it. And when we're adding or subtracting them, we can only add or subtract if the matrices themselves are the same size. So what I mean by that is that this first one, let me grab my pencil, has 3 rows, and the second one has 3 rows. Okay, so that's a good start. Then we need to check and make sure they have the same number of columns. So the first one has 2 columns, the second one has 2 columns. That means that they're the same size. Okay, so they have to be the same shape, same size, and then you're good to go. Okay, and so in order to add or subtract these, we're actually just doing regular old adding and subtracting, which is why they are awesome. Okay, so I'm going to trying to choose which color I want. So basically what's happening here is we're going to be left with another matrix of the same size, but we're just going to add all of the corresponding pieces because we're adding in this one. So I'm going to do 4.1 plus 2.9. I'm going to have to give myself a little bit more room, I think. So let me move this. Sorry, my pen's not writing. There we go. Then we'll have negative 2 plus 7 and 7.5 minus 9 in that first column. And again, that's just because we're subtracting adding 4.1 and 2.9, negative 2 plus 7, 7.5 minus 9, and then we're going to do 6 plus 5, 3 plus 4.2, and negative 8 plus 11. And so because some of you guys might be wondering, let me grab a pen here. This one ended up being 7.5 minus 9 because this number, the second number, was negative and we were adding. So remember we've talked about if you have a plus and then a minus, the minus kind of takes precedent. And so now we're just going to simplify. Okay, so we have 4.1 plus 2.9, and that is going to give you 7 even. Negative 2 plus 7 is going to give us a positive 5. And 7.5 minus 9 is going to give us negative 1.5. Okay, so that's my first column. 6 plus 5 gives me 11. 3 plus 4.2 gives me 7.2. And negative 8 plus 11 is going to give me a positive 3. And so this right here, this is my final answer. Okay, so this is my answer. And so you'll have to pay attention to how they want you to put that into Math Excel. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember what it looks like, but either they're going to have the brackets in there for you or you'll have to put them in. I want to say they usually have them set up for you anyway. Okay, so just be careful with that. Okay, so let's do the next one. The next one is subtracting, but it is the same setup. We're going to do the same things. So all the corresponding pieces are just going to be subtracted. So I'll have 9 minus 15. I'll have negative 8 minus a negative 12. 14 minus a negative 6. And notice if it's a negative minus, if it's subtracting a negative, I'm still leaving that second negative in there on the number. And then we'll have let me reverse that. So we did 9 minus 15, negative 8 minus 12, 14 minus negative 6, and then we'll do 5 minus 4. So that's our setup. Now from here you could do another bracket and you could simplify those negative negatives, but we know that those negative negatives turn into a positive. So I'm just going to start by simplifying everything. So 9 minus 15, that is going to give me a negative 6. Negative 8 minus a negative 12 is the same as negative 8 plus 12, which gives me a positive 4. And again, if you're ever in doubt, plug that into your calculator. 14 minus a negative 6 is the same as 14 plus 6. So 14 plus 6 is going to give me 20. And then 5 minus 4 gives me 1. So once again, this is my answer right here, this whole thing. All right. Now, the adding and subtracting, just be careful with your signs. Other than that, it's just regular old adding and subtracting, and you're just adding and subtracting the corresponding pieces. So be careful with that. Now, the next two, these are multiplying by a scalar, which a scalar, when we're dealing with matrices, is basically just a regular number. And the way that this is going to work is we're just going to multiply every single one of these numbers inside of our matrix by this 2 out front. Okay, so it's not going to change anything. They're going to stay in the same spot. And so the way that this would look, I'm going to multiply it out with you guys. So I'm going to do 2 times 4, 2 times negative 2. I'm going to do 2 times 0, 2 times 1, 2 times 5, and 2 times 2. And now I'm just going to go back and simplify. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. And 2 times 2 is 4. And so right there, once again, that's my answer. So scalar multiplication, super awesome, much faster than adding or subtracting them. But again, both of them are fairly easy. Just be careful with your signs. So the last scalar multiplication example that we're going to do is this next one. We're going to do the exact same thing though. We're going to do 12 times negative 1.25. We're going to do 12 times 2. Then we're going to do 12 times 3. And 12 times negative 1.5. So this one we're probably going to need our calculator for. So we have 12 times negative 1.25. And we get negative 15 there. 12 times 2 gives me 24. 12 times 3 gives me 36. And then 12 times negative 1.5 is going to give me negative 18. And once again, you don't have to do anything else with that. You're just going to leave it alone. All right, so those are all the basic ideas of what we're going to talk about today. Now, we're actually going to skip this example at the bottom because I don't feel like going to be super helpful on your homework, so we're going to move on. And I have a couple problems that I've actually written out that are like the problems in your homework that I want to touch base with you about before you go try to do them. Okay, so we're going to start putting all this stuff together with some other skills that we know. So this next example, I'm going to call it example 5. We are going to be doing more simplifying, and we are going to put together the multiplication and the subtraction that we just talked about. Now, it's really important that we multiply first here because we still want to follow PEMDAS, believe it or not. So we need to multiply before we do any kind of adding or subtracting. Okay, so we're going to multiply the 3 times that first matrix here before we do anything else. Okay, so we're going to do this part first. And then we'll just copy that last part of the matrix down afterwards. So we're going to do 3 times all the numbers in that first matrix. So that means that it's going to become 3 times negative 6. I'm going to put these in parentheses. I like that better. 3 times negative 9, 3 times 3, 3 times 2, 3 times 2 again, and then we have 3 times negative 3. If I were in person with you, I'd probably be doing these like in all different colors. I just don't really have that many colors available to me in this thing, so sorry about that. Okay, so then I'm just going to copy down this other matrix behind it, just so that you guys see it's not going away. And now I'm going to simplify and then I'm going to subtract last. So 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. 3 times negative 9 is negative 27. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6 again. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Okay, so this was officially kind of our first step, and I know that it had a couple little sub-steps in there too. But we have officially gotten rid of that multiplication out front. So now we're going to subtract. Okay, so now we subtract those matrices. All right, so I'm going to put this all together, I think, in this next step. So remember, we just subtract all the corresponding pieces. So we're going to have negative 18 minus 8, negative 27 minus 0. And again, I had negative 18 minus 8, negative 27 minus 0. That is how I'm getting these numbers. So now I'm going to do 9 minus negative 3, 6 minus 5, and the minus is coming from that sign in the middle of these matrices. Then I'm going to do 6 minus negative 4. Then I'm going to do negative 9 minus 8. And we're just going to finish simplifying that. Okay, so we have to do our negative 18 minus 8, and that is going to give us a negative 26. Negative 27 minus 0 is just negative 27. Sorry, I hope there's not like a whole bunch of distortion on this. 9 minus a negative 3 is the same as 9 plus 3, which is going to give us 12. 6 minus 5 is 1. 6 minus negative 4 is 6 plus 4, which gives us 10. And negative 9 minus 8 is going to give me negative 17. And again, if you're not sure about any of those and you get really confused with all those negatives, then guys, just plug it into your calculator. Hopefully you guys have that with you, or you can use the one on your laptop. All right, so this right here, this is my final answer. And this is what you would put in on Math Excel. Okay, so I know that looks like a lot. I write it out a lot more in detail than I think you guys will probably need to, but I just want to make sure that you guys know where everything is coming from. Okay, so let's do one more together, and this is my last example for you. And this one is where we're going to pull in some of the old stuff that we've talked about previously this year, and we're going to solve this for x and y. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but as you'll notice, we do have some x's, we have some y's, and this is one that I pulled exactly from your homework. Okay, I think that it's a great review for us, so that's why we're going to do it. So make sure that you reference this example if you get stuck, because it is probably the more difficult one on your homework. All right, so we're going to solve this for x and y. We're adding these matrices together, and it says that it's equal to this last matrix. So we're adding, let me highlight. We're adding these two together, and it's equal to this one. So we're going to start off by doing the addition. Okay, so we're going to do 0 plus 6. Remember, I'm adding this plus this. I'll do 2x plus y. I'll do x plus 5y. Oh, I shut my pen off. There we go. And then we'll do negative 4 plus 9. And so that is my matrix right there, and that is equal to, I'm going to move that, 6, 5, 52, 5. Okay, so we're going to do one last thing really quick, but honestly, we really don't even need to. Okay, so I'm going to skip that. What we're looking at here is that we have x plus 5y is equal to 52, because those are in the same places in these different matrices. And I know that's weird. We haven't really talked about that yet. But we can do this. Okay, so trust me. And then we have 2x plus y is equal to 5. Okay, so these are paired up. So we can write two equations. We'll have x plus 5y equals 52. And then we have 2x plus y equals 5. And this right here is a system of equations. And so I'm actually going to move this to the other side. We have to solve this using either elimination or substitution. And I really don't care. I'm going to move it back because I changed my mind. I really don't care which one you use. So solve using All right, so we're solving using elimination or substitution. And again, I really don't care which one you choose to do. I know you guys tend to like elimination, but substitution is just as easy in this case. So it's completely your call of what you want to do. For the purposes of this example, since I know most of you guys like elimination better, I'm going to do that. So that will be our next step. If you want to use substitution and you remember how to do that, then go for it. The reason why I'm opting for elimination is because you really can do that with any of these, whereas substitution might be a little bit harder. So I'm just going to go with elimination. So with elimination, we're going to rewrite our system. And we were looking to eliminate one of our variables by making them cancel. So I can really do either one just as easy. I'm just going to go ahead and choose to eliminate the x's just because I know that if I multiply everything in the first row by 2, or sorry, a negative 2, because I need the signs to be different, the x's will cancel. Okay, so if I make the first row into negative 2x minus 10y, and then minus or equals negative 104, then I'm just going to copy over that bottom row. It's not going to change. And I can't believe they used such large numbers, but they did. Now we're just going to add straight down our columns. Okay, so negative 2x plus 2x is gone. Negative 10y plus 10y gives me a negative 9y. And negative 104 plus 5 gives me negative 99. So it actually works out really well because now we can divide both sides by negative 9. And we get y equals 11. All right. So y is going to be positive 11. Now we're almost done, and the second step is always easier. So now you can choose whatever of your original equations that you'd like to work with, and we're going to go and plug this back in. So for our very last step, I'll use green this time. We're going to plug it in. So I'm just going to use, I'll use the x plus 5y equals 52. So I'm doing x plus 5 times 11 equals 52. And so I get x plus 55 equals 52, and then I'm going to subtract 55 from both sides. So that means that x is equal to 52 minus 55 is negative 3. So our x value is negative 3. Our y value is 11. And I know that that's a lot of work, and a lot of it is not even using the matrices. A lot of it is using our previous stuff that we know from elimination substitution. And I know that this one takes a little bit more time, but your assignment this week is really not very long at all, and a lot of it's going to be really easy. So please take your time and work through this problem so that you can get all your points, because if you don't, it's going to be hard for you to even get into the 90s, because I don't even think that there are 10 questions this week. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. Send me a message and remind. If you're stuck on a problem, send me a picture of what you've done and I can help you. I'll be available basically anytime this week. So please try to get a hold of me, especially if you're going to send me a message and remind or email. It's usually better to send me a message before 5 o'clock, but I'll still respond if I get it afterwards, just so you guys have a heads up. But overall, I hope you guys like this section. I hope it goes well. Let me know if you need anything, and otherwise I will talk to you later.